Okay, here's one last hypothesis test for the difference between two means for you to try. So this is about an ACT prep class, and they're wondering whether or not this class improves ACT scores. And so here's the information, the data for the students that took the test without the class, their average ACT score, the standard deviation, the sample size. These are the students that took it with the class. And you're supposed to test at alpha equals 0.05 whether the ACT prep class improved the mean scores. So go ahead and press pause, give that a try. When you're done, you can turn the video back on and see how you did. Okay, so let's go ahead. We'll see how you did here. So these are like the two means of these two groups. And what I want to do is I want to show the ones with the class have a bigger GPA. So that's going to make this a left-tailed test again. Okay, so mu1 is equal to mu2. So the null says there is no difference between the groups. And then the alternative says no, mu1 is actually less than mu2. So my alpha here is 0.05. And so we're going to get the one-tailed alpha 0.05, go all the way to the bottom, and I get 1.645. So over here, this side would be reject H0. So your z-score would have to be less than this in order to reject H0. So 3 here, z is equal to, okay, the difference between the two sample means minus the hypothesized difference, which is 0, 3.1 squared over 1,000 plus 2.8 squared over 500. And then we're going to take the square root of all that. So let me put it in my calculator and see what we get. So 20.8 minus 21.4. I'm going to divide that by the square root. 3.1 squared over 1,000 plus 2.8 squared over 500. Oh, I got a syntax error. So let's try it again. 20.8 minus 21.4. And I'm going to divide that by square root of 3.1 squared over 1,000 plus 2.8 squared over 500. And it looks like I got negative 3.77. And that is definitely in the rejection region, way over here. Clearly in the rejection region. So no doubt about it, I'm going to reject H0. And that means there is enough evidence to conclude the true ACT score for those who took the prep class is greater, or that there's enough evidence to conclude that the prep class improved the true mean ACT score. Might have been a better way to put that. And so in this case, I'm rejecting H0. So when you reject H0 but H0 is true, that's a type 1 error. But I don't really run the risk of committing that here. I mean, I could commit it, but this is so far into the rejection region, I would reject it for all critical values, so I got a really good confidence that I'm making the right decision. In a sense, I'm catching it for sure with a score that large. Okay. One interesting thing is, why is this one so large and this one not so large? When really the difference between these two is a lot bigger than the difference between those two. Okay? And the reason here is this one had a lot bigger standard deviation and a smaller sample size. And this one, the standard deviation was smaller and it had a really large sample size. And that made even this little difference into a big test statistic. So really this test statistic is combining all the things that would affect sampling error, like the standard deviation, the size of your sample, kind of combining all that together to give you a number for deciding whether or not you can reject H0 and actually conclude that there is a difference. So it's the math here kind of helping you piece everything together to make the best decision. So, okay, so that's all we're going to do with analyzing the results of an experimental study. The homework that I'm giving you, there's only a couple problems on. It won't take you very long. I just wanted you to get a taste of the sort of thing someone would do to analyze the results of an experimental study. Okay, and this would be kind of what they would do. Now, if they were dependent samples or smaller samples, or if there were more than 2 samples, there would be different methods that you would use. Okay, so this is only the beginning of analyzing the results of an experimental study, but it at least gives you a taste of how one would go about doing that. So in the next unit, or in the next chapter, we're going to look at analyzing the results of a correlation study. So, and that's actually going to be the last unit that we're going to cover. So